Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Wow, what a game of football last night. Rochdale AFC, you did us proud. Makes us proud to say this morning, this is Rochdale. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. What is This Is Rochdale all about? It's a question we keep getting asked, which is a fair question. The idea is that it's a voluntary association, local business people who come together with a single mission, and that's to promote Rochdale as a destination for business, with a view to bringing businesses into the borough and with a view to supporting businesses in the borough. We comprise of a very informal board and you, our ambassador businesses, who are part of us, part of our grouping and part of the mission to improve business in Rochdale and bring more business into Rochdale. The way we do it, first of all, we reach out to businesses and organisations outside the borough. And that's where you as our ambassadors are so important. You have connections, you do business, people from all over the country and beyond. You're able to spread the word about Rochdale as a destination for business. We also try to support businesses locally, and to do this we've set up a number of sector groups. We have a manufacturing interest group, sports and leisure, future workforce, which is comprised of our colleges and training institutions, digital and IT, logistics. We try to represent all of the business sectors within the borough, and we are trying to provide leadership through our sector groups to bring those businesses together, to promote their interests, to promote their sectors, both within the borough and outside. We promote ourselves on social media using the hashtag This Is Rochdale, and we try to attach that to any positive news stories we issue. We have a number of events and PR initiatives. Chris Maguire, who you're going to be hearing from later on when he interrogates our special guests today. He's looking for people, business people, who are going to sit round and have a conversation with him. Groups of 6 or 8, just discussing issues of the day that affect businesses in Rochdale and explaining why they think Rochdale is a good place to do business. And we'll be in touch with all of you to ask for your support in that. Got a number of campaigns planned. The campaign that we're going to be starting in the new year is aimed at recruiting the best of talent outside the borough to come and work here under a slogan that's provisionally titled Rochdale, a better place to work. And you can help us to promote Rochdale wherever you go. Wear the badge with pride, use the logo with pride, put it on your letterheads, put it on your websites, and provide a link on your emails, if possible, on your websites, to our website, thisisrochdale.com. So far, we're not doing too badly. When we started, around about 8,000 people saw our This Is Rochdale tweets. Now it's about 156,000. So for those of you who are young enough to know what tweets are, I'm sure that's a very interesting statistic. We've had some PR success as well. Does anybody recognise that young man? You're going to be seeing him later on. Does anybody recognise the photo in the background? We couldn't be in a better place for this meeting today, could we? That's taken from front page article on Business Live magazine. What we try to do is place high-profile media stories and announcements wherever we can, and we're having some considerable success with that. At the moment, Rochdale Development Agency is putting together a bid for government funding for an advanced machining research centre in Rochdale. You may have heard of Innovate UK, you may have heard of catapult centres around the country. Innovate UK is a government-sponsored scheme to promote research and development in all aspects of manufacturing and beyond. It's done through a number of specialist centres called catapult centres. A well-known example is the Advanced Manufacturing Research Centre in Sheffield, which was set up in collaboration with Sheffield University some years ago, has got Boeing as the lead partner there. Another well-known catapult centre is the Manufacturing Technology Centre in Coventry, and that's a photograph of it, kindly provided by the architects who designed it, who are Rochdale folk. We want one of those in Rochdale. And we, as This Is Rochdale, are working with the development agency to do what we can to support them to bring it about. And as part of that support, we've been able to reach out to a major global OEM in the high technology sector. We're going to have a chat with them in November. It's a chance meeting we had 7-8 months ago. We've been able to reach out to them and now going to see them with a view to discussing potential involvement in an exciting project to bring one of those to Rochdale, to stick it on Kingsway, and it will be a game changer if we can do it. We've got a couple of other initiatives going on as well. One of them is to take our manufacturers and also our advanced machining initiative project to the MAC exhibition, the NEC in Birmingham in April next year. The MAC exhibition is put on by the Manufacturing Technologies Association and the Great and the Good of UK Manufacturing exhibit there every 2 years. Huge exhibition. Strangely enough, we don't see any Rochdale businesses exhibiting there. We don't blame them. Going to these sort of exhibitions is expensive and time-consuming. So what we're doing is we're trying to put together a project where we take a number of businesses to give them access, Rochdale's manufacturing businesses, together with the RDA, together with us as This Is Rochdale, to promote the initiative that we're pursuing to bring an advanced machining research facility to Rochdale, and also to promote our manufacturing businesses. That's the sort of thing we can do as This Is Rochdale, because through you, we can reach out to the businesses in the borough, bring them together, and hopefully take them to events like this. This sounds to be all about manufacturing. Please remember, we have different sector interests. We will represent every sector in the borough. We hope that you will come to us and be part of that, be part of your sector interest groups, and tell us what we can do for you, and we will do it. It's not all about hard work, though. You may have heard that there's a dinosaur coming to Rochdale from February to June next year. Dippy's going on display in municipal offices. We're going to have an ambassador event like this under Dippy one morning. One of the early events in February next year. We're also planning on putting on a gala dinner under Dippy one evening, which will be a fantastic event. We're aiming for about 300, 350 people there. We'll let you know the date and the confirmed details in due course, but we're aiming for February next year. We want you to come. We want you to bring your colleagues. We want you to bring your friends. We want you to bring businesses. Let's show them what we can do. Let's show them just what sort of a party we can put on. Also, Rochdale Council are offering packages, corporate packages. We've got Jen here from the council today. Have a word with Jen. There's some fantastic packages on offer, really good value for money. And as ambassadors, if you speak to Jen, she will put on a special package just for you. Whatever you want, we'll tailor it to you. That's fair, isn't it? Superb. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's roughly what This Is Rochdale is all about. We're doing lots. We hope you approve. Thank you for coming today. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. There'll be one or two croaky voices in the room this morning, I suppose. This is Rochdale. You are Rochdale. This is the point at which we said we'd always give you a bit of an update from a council perspective about some of the things going on in the town. I suspect this slot will diminish as these meetings go on, and it's picked up more as part of the mainstream. But I thought I'd focus first of all on the town centre, because there is a lot of activity going on in the town centre, and it's important, I think, that we keep making sure that you're aware of that as Rochdale businesses. Rochdale Riverside, leisure and retail development. Yeah, I did say retail development. There aren't many of those going on at the moment. is still on track to open. It's on site, it's on track, it's not lost any time whatsoever. It's mainly up now, so most of the work going forward will be on internal, so that should mean that there shouldn't be too many problems in hitting the opening date of Easter 2020. Since the last time we met, there have been a couple more announcements of lettings. I think we said that we were expecting a really strong letting imminently last time, and that's now come to pass. That's H&M taking 22,500 square feet. That's a really good part of the retail offer. And I think equally as important with high streets these days is the leisure offer. We've already got the cinema, as people will probably recall. We've now got Puttstars, which I don't really get, I have to say, but it's golf inside, if that makes sense to anyone. But apparently it's really popular and everyone wants to do it. So that's, again, a 20,000 square foot letting. That's quite important, I think, because it's important that we get the balance right in our high street between retail, leisure and indeed residential going forward. Rochdale Town Hall, we've mentioned that before. That's an exciting project. It's going to be an investment of circa £20 million. The programme's not really due to start for another year, which is good, because we ideally don't want that to clash with what Paul's just said about Dippy and about the opening of the new retail centre. So it's the year after that it will close to have all the work's done on it internally. And that will be followed by an investment in the public realm surrounding it. And the most important thing about that is we're trying to shift the car parking from that front so you get a proper view of what is a real jewel in Rochdale's crown. I was going to talk a little bit about Dippy as well. I've missed Uprising. I was going to talk a little bit about Dippy, but I'm going to skip that. So I will say a little bit more about Rochdale Uprising. That's not another reference to last night. It felt a bit like that when you were there, I know, but it's not that Uprising. This is a project that was to deliver 12 murals around town on key buildings like the Pioneers Museum, the Marks and Spencer building, not the new Marks and Spencer building, the old Marks and Spencer building. And it was a festival led by a Rochdale-born artist, Hayley Garner, who is one half of a superstar artist duo, actually. I think they're away in Berlin at the moment doing something over there. And that gained a massive amount of PR. And coming back to what I said about high streets and how they've got to be built in future, one of the things that's got to be part of that rebuilding programme is very much about heritage and culture, and so that really strikes at the heart of that, and we will be doing more around that. It got some really great coverage on BBC Northwest tonight. Again, all about positioning. As I said, I'm not really going to talk very much about DP, other than to say that it is in two parts. There's the Diplodocus itself that's going to be sited in number 1 Riverside, but then across town there's going to be a natural history-linked exhibition that's going to be in touchstones as well. So it's going to be something, as usual, we're doing things differently here in Rochdale. Dippy's a bit of a rock star in all the museums, because it is museums that have been cited in so far in his tour around the UK. They've had increased footfall, you see, it's on my mind, footfall of staggering numbers. So the first place it went was a tiny museum in Dorset that gets an average annual footfall of 50,000, and it got over 200,000 people in 2 months. So we're estimating we're going to get at least 250,000 visitors as a result of having that skeleton that's not even real. Sorry, I shouldn't say that, should I? But it's not. It's carbon. It's actually advanced manufacturing material. It's carbon fibre, isn't it? So, but as a result of having that, we will have an enormous amount of footfall, which helpfully coincides exactly with the opening of Rochdale Riverside. Okay, we always do a bit of an investment update as well. Probably the biggest recent announcement is Trade Centre UK. Which is the fastest growing retailer. It does cars, surprise, surprise. And in the financial year ending November 2018, the group profits before tax were up 38% over the year before, so it is a very, very high-performing company. Turnover, we're talking 250 million plus, so we're talking about a big business. They're already recruiting 100 staff. It's going to be out at Sandbrook Park, along with a hotel offer as well. And I've got a quote actually, I'm going to read from the Trade Centre Group Chief Executive, Andy Colhurst. He said, as a Rochdale lad myself, that's great, I'm massively excited that we've been able to bring our unique concept to the town, and I know the store will be a huge success. So we're looking forward to that, that's progressing. Paul mentioned Kingsway. There's a Dixon, big logistics company that's already based, a German logistics company I should add, that's already based in Rochdale. We've been working with them for some considerable time about their expansion, and I have to say it was knocked back a bit by Brexit, but they've managed to work their way through that, and they are making what is a £14.5 million investment in a new 55,000 square foot unit that will be operational later this month. And then Commercial Blinds and KP Industries are the first two tenants in Logic at Kingsway, which is a new directly funded council development of small units. And I think we talked about this before. The council very much recognise that there's a market for bigger units that enables them to get done commercially. But the smaller units that are crucial to our economy to allow businesses to start up and grow don't get developed because they're not financially viable. So we've taken a punt on this. We've got quite a portfolio of small business units, and we intend to be doing more of that in future as well to make sure that we're doing our bit to support the local economy. There are 8 units there from 3 to 7,500 square feet, although there's also the opportunity to combine some of those units if that's required. Lettings are going okay, but they're still available, and I think there are some brochures knocking about somewhere. I'm not sure I really wanted to mention this. There was a lot of dysfunction going on in Parliament last night when we were all together. But it's worth, I think, mentioning from the point of view of the local authority, we've been doing what we can in terms of Brexit preparations. We've been looking at things like fuel supply. We've been looking at, with health colleagues about drug supply. We've been looking about at workforce issues that might arise in the social care sector. So we've been doing that sort of planning. But most of what needs to happen as a result of Brexit, whatever form that takes, is about you guys. It's about making sure that I think we probably all know that whatever happens, when it happens, there's going to be some sort of economic shock. The issue is whether it's a short shock or something that's longer than that. And what you guys need to do is prepare for that as businesses. And so on your chairs, there's a leaflet from Greater Manchester Growth Hub, which are setting up events to help to support you to understand what your business, in your particular context, needs to do to respond effectively to Brexit. So that's all I've got to say. I do want to just finish with another Brexit-related football reference, because I was driving in this morning and there was a big debate about how the language being used in Parliament last night was divisive and driving the country apart. And it started me thinking about how football is the best example. We have our issues, but it's the best example of how people are brought together. You don't have to go far down the road to find places where people in the same household support different teams passionately, and they live together. They're married. They're brother and sister. Now, that's what our community is about. It's not about what's going on in Parliament, and I think that's something that we all need to hold on to. So thank you.
You know, I do lots and lots of events. It's great to come here today and just to see so many people. I mean, they put out all these chairs and they're always full. When we were talking in the office about today's event being the day after the night before, we thought to ourselves, is that a good idea? A bit worried about David Bottomley. Would he be okay? Would he turn up or not, given his newfound fame? But we saw him turn up today and we thought, actually, this is the best day to have an event today. I was listening to the radio. I was hoping to get an invite last night, but it didn't come through. And you know, Luke Matheson scores that goal, 16-year-old, and everyone says, isn't it fantastic, you know, because he scored a goal, 16. He's been at Rochdale all his life, pretty much all his life, and now he's suddenly on the radar. But he's been on the radar at Rochdale for a long time, and I think that sums up what Rochdale does. If you want to follow the conversation on Twitter, you can. The hashtag is This is Rochdale. Mention these badges as well. If you've not got a badge, wear it with pride. We're all wearing these badges as well. Richard Hagan at Crystal Doors has sorted that out. We hear a lot in the news about sport, and I think sport does define an area. It puts an area on the map. If you look at Rochdale, it's not just about the football club as well, and it's not just about David and the players. It's so much more than that, and that's what we're going to try and do today. We're going to talk about how Rochdale does things differently, and you can see that by the eclectic mix in the room. I mean, I was speaking to Hopwood the priest. Hopwood, say hello. You know, it's the only, what a great guy he is. You know, met him for the first time. You know, the lights weren't even on, and he smiled at me, and everything was bright. And he had that slight Californian accent, and I thought it was fantastic. And Steve Kunchevich has turned up as well. Always nice to see Steve turn up, fashionably late, fashionably dressed as always. And I think if you look at the room, you've just got this real mix of, you know, this eclectic mix of people, and I think that really sums up Rochdale. That article we saw in Business Live was fantastic. The article about David Bottomley, you know, it's a 4-page feature, front page cover. If you've not seen the article, David's got 2,500 copies in his already signed as well. So what we're going to do, we're going to hear from David in a second, and we're going to talk about last night and what that meant to him and what it meant to the club as well. But it's not just about the football club, and it's not just about what happened last night. It's so much more than that. I'd like to invite Steve Kerr, the CEO of Rochdale Hornets, to join me on the stage, and also Siobhan McElhenney, who's going to talk about her 18-year association with Rochdale Football Club. Put your hands together for them if you would. Thank you very much. Now those microphones, just to let you know, Steve on the left, just in case. Steve, I came to visit you to talk about Rochdale Hornets, and I'll put my hand up. You know, I love football, I love cricket especially. I'm not a big rugby league fan, didn't know a lot about, you know, Rochdale Hornets, and I thought, right, okay, I'm involved now in Rochdale Development Agency and promoting Rochdale. Let's find out a little bit about Rochdale Hornets. So I looked at the table, the league table, 26 defeats in 27 games. I looked at your points deficit, minus 926. I'm trying to cheer you up here. I'm trying to cheer you up. You must have the toughest gig in rugby league. You must have. Tell us how you keep yourself going.
Bit loud. Yeah, Chris. Those target was actually less than negative 1,000, so I think we achieved our target there. So I think we're all right.
More positive news from Rochdale.
That's the one. So yeah, that was a goal. No, it's not been an easy season. We're not going to lie about that. There's several challenges along the way, but how do you keep yourself going? Well, we're looking to put new plans in place. I keep using the phrase being unashamedly Rochdale, and what that means is around having a strategy and a philosophy that's around growing homegrown players, giving them opportunities, and starting to build a culture where we're inviting more businesses to work with us. And we kind of put our arms around everybody in Rochdale and kind of go from the viewpoint that we want to be more locally focused, and hopefully by doing some of those things we'll start to turn the ship around and put a better product on the park and start to achieve some things. Yeah,
it's so important to look at the history of the Hornets as well. I mean, it dates back to 1871. I think Dippy was about when you started. And we hear stuff about Bury Football Club just up the road, you know, and what's happened to them as well. So it's very important that the club's on a sound financial footing. Just talk about the heritage and the history of the Hornets, for those people who don't know in the room.
Yeah, so essentially the club is one of the oldest in the country in rugby league terms. It was founded in 1871, and I must admit, I'm not a historian, so I better get this right because we've got an ex-chairman in the room, so he's going to be putting his hand up saying, correction in a minute, but 1871, so it means we're coming up to a 150-year anniversary in 2021, which coincides with the World Cup, incidentally, which the UK will host. And I think it will be somewhere around 1895, if my memory's right, we formed what was the Northern Union back then as one of the original 22 clubs. So almost 150 years in standing. We're very much part of the fabric of this town.
You've got a tough hand. You've been dealt a tough hand in terms of Rochdale. And we're talking about what the facts are, because there'll be a lot of people in the room probably don't know much about the Hornets as well. When we look at playing budgets, your playing budget, I think last season, was circa £200,000.
Yep. The
team that won, Toronto Wolfpack, just down the road, Toronto Wolfpack, £1.5 million. If you look at the TV rights, you know, if you look at the sort of, you know, the amount of money that goes to championship teams, £4 million spread across, I think, 14 teams. Rochdale share £168,000. You know, so you are straight away, we are straight away on the back foot, aren't we? So you've got to cut your crop accordingly, one would assume.
Yeah, absolutely. We could sit here and probably complain about the fact that it's an inequitable split in distribution and the way the money falls down from Sky to the RFL and then into our own pockets so that we can invest in the club and in the infrastructure. We could complain all we want, but it's starting to change. It's starting to even out a little bit, but it doesn't make it any easier to put together a competitive squad. And as you can see from the results this year, we haven't managed to do that. But that doesn't mean we haven't done it in the past. I think you can get a good product on the pitch. I think you can get the right people in the shirt that want to play for the badge, want to play for the town, and you can improve your performances that way if you get all the right ingredients. And it puts us in a bit of a challenge because you've got to get everything right to be competitive. You've got to make sure your planning and your recruitment's brilliant. You've got to make sure your commercial partners are the right ones. You've got to make sure that your kind of customer experience is spot on as well. So you've got to get everything right just to be able to compete. And we don't have a benefactor that we can fall back on. And we only turn over, I saw the accounts last time, were 375,000. Incidentally, there was an article just this week around how much the highest paid player is at Toronto Wolfpack, the team that you mentioned, Chris. And he's on 460,000 sterling. So he's on more per year than we turn over. So that just puts it into context. And our boys had to go to Toronto 3 or 4 weeks ago and play against this chap. And it wasn't just 13 against 1 either. We wish it was, but no.
Just talk about that. As I say, as somebody who's getting into rugby league, you can tell from my accent I'm from the south. We don't play rugby league down there. It was a 30-hour trip into Canada. You've got to take the whole team over to Canada. You know that the odds are you're going to get beat. You go out there, you get beat 46-0. You know, a lot of your players, in fact, all your players have got other jobs. I think you've got a teacher, you've got a construction worker. You know, you're one of the few, non-full-time teams. You train 3 days a week. How logistically and how financially, is that in terms of on the club to take everybody over to Canada? Because from the outside, it sounds like a jolly, but as a CEO, it's not, is it?
No, there's a lot of hard work that goes into that by not just the staff, the players, the coaches and what have you, the volunteers behind the scene. Because when you mention the finances, we're not cash rich, obviously. We spend a lot of time on bringing the right volunteers in to help us out with some of the administrative tasks, some of the key roles in the club. So it puts a lot of strain under it. If I give you an example, we started with the visa application process just to go to Canada for the team in January. We went in August. And about a week before, we still didn't have everybody on the flight. And so it does put some pressure on the administration, of course it does. And then you've got, the challenges with border control and there might be 1 or 2 indiscretions on the lads' rap sheets and stuff like that. So you've got to overcome those. But we got everyone there, and that was the main thing. We got everybody there. Everybody was in high spirits, and despite the David versus Goliath battle that was about to ensue, I think the boys put on a great performance out there, and we did so last year as well when we went to Toronto.
You mentioned last year, when I was doing my research for today's event, I typed in photographs, of that Rochdale game, and there was a great banner in the crowd. It said Rochdale Hornets World Tour, followed by the message, "My other half thinks I'm in Morrison's." I mean, how important is it to have that sense of humour?
Yeah, absolutely. That's Jim's flag. That he's a great guy, and absolutely, I think it's a bit of a play in words because we actually used to reside at the athletic ground, and Morrison's came and bought the athletic ground back in 1987, and so I think his wife still thinks he goes to the athletic ground down at Morrison's.
Is that Jim Stringer?
It's Jim Stringer, yeah.
Jim Stringer is a real character at the club. Tell us about 2016, because 2016 you played Toulouse, and obviously we saw yesterday Man United, came so close, to getting beat yesterday by Rochdale. But in 2006 you went over, the Hornets went over to Toulouse. You beat them in your own backyard. How many fans do you have watching that?
1.
Jim Stringer.
Jim Stringer.
Jim Stringer. Actually, must have been some celebration that afterwards, with
there's a brilliant photo actually of Jim, and I think this is a real reflection on how the club operates and runs. Jim was out there. We had 5 days to prep from winning the semi-final to get out to Toulouse. So there's a logistical nightmare, flights and coaches and everything like that. The chairman who was in the room, the ex-chairman Mark Wynne, who was in the room, was out there as well, and he'll know better than I. But there was real belief in the camp, you know, and you can talk about all the money you want, but 2016 we were the underdogs. We didn't have the budget that Toulouse had, that's for sure. And we went out and gave it a go, and the result was the result in that we won a David versus Goliath challenge there, and to win, I think it was the first trophy in 97 years to win that league. So it can be done, and Jim was part of that, and there's a great photo flying back with all the lads, the chairman, the staff, the coaches, everybody, and there's Jim on the end as the fan with his flag, and absolutely loved it. And it's a memory he'll never forget.
Told his wife he's in Morrison's, apparently.
And he got caught out.
Absolutely. A couple of things, because there's a couple of serious points there in terms of, you came into the club a couple of years ago, you know, running a deficit of 22 grand. You turn it around, a profit of £19. Doesn't sound like a lot, you know, but it's huge in a way. The ownership of the club, explain that, because this is very much a fans' club, isn't it? Which sort of sums up Rochdale, really.
Yeah, absolutely. A slightly different model. It's a cooperative model in the home of the cooperative. So it's actually your club. And there's an invitation from me from corporate businesses and private sector to get involved with the club, and love to have more conversations with you around how we can do that. But it belongs to the community. And yes, we you know, on the balance sheet there was some deficits and what have you. And what we've got to do is, one of our guiding principles is around making sure that we put basic financial principles at the heart of everything that we do, that we act morally responsible and with integrity, and we don't overspend and we don't overcommit, because actually we don't want to be in a position where Bury were in terms of football. For those of you that follow rugby league, Widnes got relegated from Super League, and they had a real challenge this year. So we don't want that to happen to Rochdale Hornets. We had to cut our cloth accordingly. We did that last year and the year before, and we run a break-even budget now, which means it's even more important for us to position ourselves well within the community and just make sure everybody understands that there's a responsibility. I see myself as just a custodian. In a way, we're working with the board, who are all fans and members and are really passionate about the club. But yeah, it's a fans-owned model, and we're very proud of that. But it does require us to think about how we increase the number of members and increase the number of fans that come along and enjoy the product. Last
couple of questions. In terms of your attendances last season, circa 1,000, but you had some big local derbies. Now, you're not necessarily going to get them next year. You've got to travel a long way. You get quite a big... your fan base is probably, loyal fan base, probably 350-ish.
Yep,
to get into the championship, you really want a fan base locally of 1,000, don't you?
Yeah.
You've got a number of partnerships which you've really worked on in terms of with the people and companies in Rochdale. Tell us about that. And moving forward, how important is it that some of the people in this room, some of the businesses in the borough, really get behind the Hornets?
Yeah, I'm going to say this unashamedly. Really, we need your help. That's the top and bottom of it. It's a plea to the private sector to come and get involved, because this is your club, as I said before. In 2017, when I walked in the door, we had sort of roughly 4 really good quality partners and sponsors. We now have 32. We increased our commercial turnover by 330%, which is no easy task in a current Brexit climate as well, so we get that. What we're particularly proud of, though, is some of the relationships that we've built with those commercial partners. So I'll just touch on a few. And one of the things that we did is we looked at who do we want to work with, who kind of matches up with our values and visions and where we want to go with. So it wasn't just a case of, who's got some money in the bank that we could grab a sponsorship deal with. And we're working with Cooney Civil Engineering Company as our headline sponsor last year, and so they've been a fantastic supporter. We have a jewel in the crown, I think, in our community foundation. And why that's important and why I mention that is actually a lot of our sponsors and partners are interested in the impact that we make in the community and the increased social value. So it's not just the fact that we might offer an advertising or a marketing spot to a sponsor, but actually we want your help to invest in your community using rugby league as a vehicle to do that. And so one of our key partners last year was a company you'll all know is Russell Holmes. David and Andrew, fantastic supporters of the club this year. They've invested in both the club and in some of our community outreach work, where we physically branded all the rugby balls Russell Holmes, and we've been running sessions right across all 4 boroughs or five townships now.
I mean, it's worth saying.
More kids are playing.
That trust, I mean, I came to interview you ahead of today's event, and I asked you how many kids that, you know, you were involved in that week through the trust. It was 756. I just want to ask you a final question as well, in terms of about your relationship with Hotwood Hall College as well. I mean, your coach, you know, Matt Calland is involved there as a rugby league manager as well. And you're looking to get players from the area, people like Brandon Wood, who scored 10 tries last year. He's just left. He wants to stay in the championship, and you wouldn't stand in his way as well. Explain that relationship, because moving forward, we started with a bit of a joke about your minus points deficit, but you know, you're so positive because you're looking to get young kids through Hotwood College playing in the shirt, playing on the pitch.
And I think that's the exciting uniqueness about what we have to offer, Chris. I mean, football club, for example, might have to shop further afield for good quality players so that they can, you know, compete on the park, whereas we have an opportunity to invest locally and bring forth local talent players. And so we've started to do that, and part of that idea, if you like, is we've got to make sure that we are training in the borough. Let's be honest, for the last 3-4 years we've not been training in the borough, partly because we had a fantastic relationship with Warrington Wolves, a Super League club, but actually some of the facilities weren't quite what we needed. Working with Hotwood Hall College now, Julia's been a fantastic supporter, as has Chris Robinson as well there, and we now kind of reside there with our first team, and we're looking to get the women's team across there as well. And there's mutual benefit in the relationship, because we're taking students into the business so they can get work experience, and ultimately we're now training locally with some local players and putting them in the shop window. You mentioned Brandon Wood. Brandon Wood started playing rugby league, 6-year-old in the town. He's, you know, got to give a lot of credit to Rochdale Mayfield, who's the amateur club that he grew up with, and he went on and did some scholarships at Bradford Bulls and what have you. But make no mistake, he was born and bred here in Rochdale. He's been schooled by the likes of Matt Calland, our head coach. And there's a great synergy now, because we've got a great relationship with the amateur club where the kids are coming through. So we've got community development into amateur rugby league, into Hotwood through the rugby academy, and then hopefully we can nurture that talent and get them into the Rochdale shirt. And because we now reside in the borough from a training point of view, we can have a say in how all of that's working.
Steve, thanks very much. Going to come to Siobhan McElhenney, football coach with Rochdale. We were talking earlier. I must just ask you about your nails. Can you just show everyone your nails? Absolutely Rochdale coloured nails. Steve's also got Rochdale coloured nails. You can't see him as well. You've been involved with the football club most of your life, actually. You were at Old Trafford yesterday. You know, Luke Matheson, who scored the goal, you've been helping coaching him since the age of 9. What was last night like for you?
So in terms of last night, absolute dream, really. Obviously, I've kind of fallen into being a Rochdale fan, really, through my work and obviously my passion for the football club and the town, really. Last night, brilliant. The fact that Luke had scored, even more amazing. I was actually sat in the director's box at the time, so I might be a little bit croaky today, so I do apologise for that. Yeah. But absolute brilliant for just the whole of the town, really. It's been really, really good.
Talk about yourself, because from the age of 13 to 16, you played rugby. You're from Rochdale. You played rugby and football at county level. At the age of 17, you turned your back on rugby for a career, a potential career with Great Britain, to become a football coach. Very, very unusual, you know, at that stage. I know a lot about, you know, women's football. Yeah. What was that decision? How did that one come about?
So really going back to playing rugby league for Mayfield for a long time, Rochdale Ravens. My primary school of Holy Family which is situated in Kirkle. My head teacher was a rugby fan. Didn't play football at all. You know, we had no school football team. It was only really when we got to high school that I decided I was going to go into football. But turning my decision onto, I cut long story short, I was actually a pupil of Hotwood College.
Yeah.
I went through the stage of, you know, I had too much freedom. I dropped out of college basically. That was end of it really. My sister wrote off to all the local football clubs. Rochdale came in and they said, you know, we're looking to try and increase girls football, you know, and females in sport. Would you be happy with, you know, starting as an apprentice? So I said, yeah. But so at 17, I made the decision. I was trialling for Great Britain to play rugby league, and I kind of thought, well, what's in this for me? You know, am I going to look longer, short term? Rugby league wasn't really a professional sport. Well, wasn't a professional sport at the time for females really in football. So I just thought I'll try it. Difficult decision, really difficult, because all I know really is rugby league. So, and I was, I'm not so half talented at football, but I really enjoyed playing football and stuff when I got into high school.
That's what I find interesting is you're a very talented footballer and you had a real talent for coaching. So you came in here as an apprentice, you rose up through the ranks. What's unusual is that, yes, you're a female coach, but you're working with, you know, males. You know, that's what's really unusual as well. And we're still going to talk to David about the academy that they've got here. You know, in terms of the academy, it's the third most successful academy in terms of getting players into first team in England and everything like that. It's not just it's not window dressing as well. As you became a coach and you grew up through the ranks, did you ever experience any sort of sexism as a female coach?
Definitely, a lot of it. But there's a main thing that does stick in my mind. A lot of people thought I was the physio. I'd turn up to training grounds and go, oh yeah, you're the physio, aren't you? No, actually I'm the football coach. But it was quite difficult at the time because this was very many moons ago, probably 18 years ago, whenever it was. And the fact that people actually thought I was the physio was quite hurting, really. But from as you look back now, it's if I think about it, at the time I was only young. I just thought, oh yeah, it's, you know, but yeah, it was quite difficult.
But Rochdale sort of led the way. I mean, you know, if I look round at female coaches in men's football clubs,
Yeah.
I could probably think on one hand, count on one hand as well. So even then, 17 years ago, 18 years ago, Rochdale was ahead of its time.
Yes, I was, for a very long time, was one of the only female coaches working academy football, male academy football. And I think that was kind of, Rochdale was probably one of the first clubs that have actually ever done it, I think.
Luke Matheson, he's getting a lot of attention today. He seems like a very grounded lad, you know, got his GCSEs and everything. He'll get the attention and then it'll be back to the graft in a sense as well. You work with other players, Dan Adshid, you know, who's left Rochdale to go to Norwich, and I think the point you made as well, you know, about rugby players, if they go on to bigger and better things, you don't stand in their way. You wouldn't want to. Rochdale has a really good reputation and a really good academy as well. As a female coach, do you think you offer something different than a male coach?
In terms of that, I'd like to think, and people may not agree with this, but I like to think I'm a motherly figure towards the boys, and you know, it's one of those, yeah, I am trying to make you better technically, tactically, but I'm also there as to talk to, and you know, and I actually think in terms of the parents, it's a big responsibility for them to allow them for me to work with them, because I'm in the change rooms, I'm with them probably quite a significant amount of time, so it's they have to trust me as much as I have to trust the parents to allow them to, you know, for me to look after them, kind of thing. But yeah, I really do think it's quite. I enjoy the fact that they can look up to me as the you know, they might tell me things that they might not say to the mum, kind of thing, and I might go back to the parents and tell them, but then again I might not do. But
it's about trust, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's about
of
trust.
course, yeah.
I just want to ask about the Rochdale Community Trust, because you're heavily involved in that. You work with not just children, you know, you work with children as young as 2, but you work, you know, with people as old as 92 as well. And once again, this is a club who's really, you know, immersed in the community. Tell us about that work.
So the Community Trust is my full-time job, really, so the Academy is my part-time job, but the Community Trust work with various different groups throughout the whole of the borough, ranging, as you said, from 2 to 92. Different things such as like basic stuff as in-school coaching, after-school coaching, And then we did walking football. We have our social group for our ladies who are going to Blackpool to Illuminations next week. But yeah, no, it's brilliant the fact that we can engage with so many different people, as obviously the Hornets do as well. So it's good that we can get out and outreach into the community, doing things that, you know, some of them, I mean, talking about our over 60s club, which some of them are 92. They come just for a social and a chit chat, and you know they tell me things that I don't really want to know, but it's great. You know, one of them rings me up and she's, "Hey, you all right?" "No, well, I've been a bit poorly or whatever." So, but no, it's good. It's enjoyable. I've been there for a very long time, and it's been great to work with so many different people of all different cultures and backgrounds.
Final question. You're Rochdale born and bred. You know, are you more excited about Rochdale now? You know, in terms of the football club, in terms of the trust, in terms of the borough, than you've been in your lifetime before?
I'll just swing that one on
Yeah.
me.
If you say no, just cough.
Should I say yeah? Yeah, I think definitely. I probably didn't know too much about Rochdale as a place when I was growing up. Maybe because of the advertisement, the publicity, the media, all the rest of it. I think now it's such an exciting place, and I know everything that's going on in the borough. Obviously, Dippy coming, you know, the renovation of the town and stuff. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic, and I hope it's going to get bigger and better. And well, I expect it's going to get bigger and better. So.
Okay. I don't know if we've got any questions from the audience for either of the two panellists. I know we're about to hear from David Bottomley, so put your hands together, if you would, for our first two speakers, to warn and proceed. A man who's equally nervous. Put your hands together for David Bottomley, the CEO of Rochdale Football Club. Thank you very much. Let's go to our side. So, David, I was a bit worried at 5 to 8, I'll be honest, when I didn't see you here. I was thinking that you probably somewhere in Fallowfield, you know, complaining about the referee's decision. Everyone wants to talk about the big game. I want to talk about the big game. How excited are you about Wycombe Wanderers on Saturday?
I'm very excited because that's bread and butter, and that's really important.
Talk about last night, because a number of people in the room who were there last night, you know, and that it came through on the radio, and you saw the social media activity as well. What was last night like for you as the CEO, for you as the fan, you know, for you as one of the people in Rochdale who's been so, you know, behind the Rochdale Ambassadors and what we're trying to do?
The most important thing about last night was we managed to get Alan Brett, who is the leader of the council, wearing a Rochdale scarf in the director's box at Old Trafford, and Steve Rumbelow, who is also chief executive of the council, is also both of them Burnley season ticket holders, and they were there last night cheering on Rochdale. And for me, that was as important as anything else last night, to see Alan Brett wearing a Rochdale scarf. Alan, thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Yeah. I was listening to it on Radio 5 Live, and they were at another game, and when they thought there'd be a shock, they went over to Man United. And when we first did the interview for the article which went in Business Live, you were talking about the history of Rochdale, and you said Rochdale's got its reputation. It had been in like League Two for 36 years. People spoke about it as the Rochdale League. And you said statistically, more managers got the sack after losing to Rochdale than any other team in the history of football. And I was talking to a couple of fans. who were there last night, and I said, what were Rochdale fans singing? He said, I can't really tell you. He said, but the most obvious one was you're getting sacked in the morning, to Ollie as well. I mean, just when they scored the goal, when Luke Matheson scored the goal, I mean, he's a player that you've known for a long time, that the club have been involved in for a long time. There was just a real feel-good factor. And I looked at social media, and it was all, if we can't beat this lot, you know, there's something badly wrong. What was last night like for you? And also financially as well, because it's good for the club.
Okay, financially it's very important. When the draw was made, and this could only happen in Rochdale, if we'd have drawn them in the third round of the FA Cup, we'd be getting a payment of about 1.4 million from United. Last night's going to net the club somewhere about 450,000, 500,000, which is fantastic. But when the draw was made, somebody on Talk Sport, who is a Rochdale fan who does the betting in the morning, said, quote, this will keep the club going for 2 to 3 years. Well, it actually doesn't. It'll keep the club going for 2 to 3 months, because the harsh realities of the game we're involved in is that the football club needs £350,000 a month just to break even. That's what goes out of this club all the time, which is why you're sat on chairs with holes in, and as you can tell, with no air conditioning. So if somebody wants to come forward and sponsor air conditioning, that'd be great. What was going through my mind when Luke scored very sadly was, I thought, oh my God, because he's 16 and he can't sign a pro contract until next week when he's 17. And I know, I'll be genuine, it was going through my mind as he scored actually after I celebrated, obviously like a true fan, but he's a very unique character, has been with our academy since he was 9. He's been brilliant, but every club in the Premiership is now sniffing around Luke Matheson. And from our point of view, it's important that he signs a pro contract, because if he does that, he'll become our asset. If he leaves before then, the compensation we'll get will be okay, but it wouldn't really justify 7-8 years of our input into him. His family loved the club, he loves the club. But actually, as we were walking back to the coach last night, I met his agent in the car park. Who I actually call Rottweiler. He's a very, very good guy, but there are a lot of people trying to prize Luke away from the club. As you said earlier, Chris, our academy, the business plan of Rochdale for many years has been based on producing kids who come through, they get into the first team, you pay them a very low wage level. And you've got to remember the league we're playing in, this is an EFL published stat. 2 years ago, the average salary in our division was £110,000 a year. And so that are stats that are based on paying people like Luke £200 a week, and a lot of very expensive players. And the one thing that Rochdale won't do and never has done is get into the same financial trouble as a club like Bury, who, Keith Hill, our previous manager, used to come to board meetings and say, Bury are offering £5,000 a week to this player and we're offering £1,200. And we said, yeah, but we'll be in business long after Bury won't be, and that's proven to be the case. So we're very prudent at this club. But the academy model, we're very proud of that academy. We wish we were a Category 1 club with a training facility and 13 pitches and an indoor facility, because we want to produce future stars from the town of Rochdale that go on to have success within the football industry. We know we're not going to play in the Premiership. The ambition of the board is to take this club into the Championship. But we just want to produce good footballers, both male and female. And it's, one of the great things about last night also, we have a ladies section at Rochdale Football Club, which is about 90 females from under 8s to open age. There were about 60 of them there last night at Old Trafford. And to me,
It's about making memories. I'm going to ask you a few things about non-football as well, because we can get back to talking about, the business side of things. Your background, you're obviously from Rochdale. You worked in the toy industry for 30 plus years. Does that give you your business background? Is that something? Because somebody said to me, if you want to make a small fortune in football, start with a big fortune. And does that business background, does that help? Because I've had meetings with you. Your phone's going off all the time, with agents and all sorts. You're dealing with things that you wouldn't expect to deal with. If there was a fly on the wall at this club, you'd be like Kim Kardashian. You really would. Everyone would know who you are. Does that business savvy, is that important in a football club like Rochdale?
yeah, hugely, in terms of particularly negotiating with players, managers, agents, employees, councils. Mainly the negotiation skills that I've picked up in business have been very useful, both as a director of this club and as chief executive, because the issue that football has is just one issue, and at the Premier League level there is silly money coming into the game so they can pay silly money out. At Championship, League 1 and 2, there isn't the money there, but it's the only industry in the world that pays its employees more than the turnover of the business, and it's crazy. So, I've held firm this year. We're very fortunate at the moment we have a manager at the football club who believes in everything the board is trying to do. So there are a lot of players who, a couple of players who ended up signing for us for the money we'd offered them 5 or 6 weeks before, because, we hold firm, and so negotiation and all the business skills that I've learned over the years has come in very useful, particularly because as a club, we're dramatically under-resourced off the field. Everything at most football clubs, and this is no different, goes into the green stuff out there. And, I have a team of people, not a team of some great people here. working 24/7, and then you see on the fans forum about, oh, you know, why is the ticket office closed on a Sunday? Well, it's been open for 6 days, you know, it's hard, and we've got people who are working for not much more than the minimum wage, and they're really loyal and great staff.
Looking at the stats, we mentioned Bury earlier. You know, they secured a £1 million loan against the Gig Lane ground at an annual interest rate of 138%. I mean, you don't have to be an economist to work out that's not going to work. Before we come back to the football club, you went down to Henley, and I think you would have gone down a tree in Henley. And you said that people always used to talk about your accent, and you used to tell them that you went to elocution lessons to talk like a Rochdolian, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Unfortunately, my sister's in the audience.
Where
today.
is your sister? Where is your
My
sister?
sister's there.
Can she give us a wave?
She's
Can she give us a wave?
She's over from Canada for 2 weeks.
She's so proud of you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
She's so proud of you.
We both grew up in Rochdale, and I never lost the accent despite leaving the town really when I was about 18. So I ended up living in Henley-on-Thames in Oxfordshire, which is a wonderful place, but Britain's snobbiest town. And I was a member of the same golf club for 23 years, and every Sunday I played in a competition. You'd be walking down First Fairway, chatting away to somebody you didn't know, and without exception, the first thing we'd say, oh, what part of Yorkshire do you come from? Which annoyed me intensely because obviously, you know, we're in Lancashire here. And it happened so many times. I started to wind people up and I'd say, oh, I'm actually not I'm from Henley. Oh, I know you live in Henley, but no, I'm from Henley. So how have you got an accent like that? I said, well, I was so bored with talking in a posh southern accent. I said that I went for elocution lessons to talk like my parents did, who grew up in Lancashire, and people would believe me, and they go, really? And that's how gullible southerners are, but anyway.
That's actually probably probably why we got on so well for, actually. I was looking in the audience and I was thinking to myself, who has got 14 million quid in the audience burning a hole in their pocket? And then I saw Anthony Dillon of Dixon. You know, he's got that behind his couch. You're looking for somebody with 14 million quid, because we're talking about Rochdale Hornets not being able to train in the borough. You've not got your own training facilities, which clearly, you know, is what you want in the borough. And you've got this plan and you're talking to a few investors. Just talk about what the vision is, as you see it, for the football club.
The vision is for us to 4 things, really. One, to have our own first-team training ground. We're very fortunate this year particularly. We've got a great relationship with Rochdale Cricket Club. We maintain the pitches there, and for the last few years our players have been coming here and changing in the same changing room that they're using on a Saturday, so there's no novelty. They've been walking across the car park in the studs, going down a hill, through a hole in a fence and climbing over barbed wire to get onto 2 pitches at the cricket club. Now, you know, you could say that's good, but you've got to remember we're operating in the 4th richest league in Europe, so it's not great for professionals. So the cricket club has been refurbished this year, so we're using it. Players go down there. We've employed a full-time chef, which is, from the players' point of view, probably the best thing we've done for many, many years. And the reason that we did so well at United last night is the team spirit at the moment is absolutely fantastic because of that simple little thing of them driving to the cricket club, training there, and they feel they're staying later. The manager came to a board meeting and said it's great because the players are staying on later, and one of our directors says, yeah, but they're playing snooker and table tennis. They're not, which is quite true, actually. They've got a snooker league. But no, they are developing themselves. But the ambition is to have a first-team training ground. We are, even Accrington, and I don't mean that disparagingly to Accrington, but they're a small football club, and even they are investing millions in a first-team training facility.
I know the owner and the chief executive of Accrington. And Accrington was so close to going out of business, and he wasn't even a football man, he'll admit that, but he didn't want Accrington to lose its focus, its identity, so he invested in a community club, and he spent, as you say, millions of pounds of his own money, which he'll never get back, just talking common sense, which is what you're trying to bring with Rochdale.
And we want a community facility. We took a group of people in March of this year to see a facility called Poolfoot Farm, which is owned by Fleetwood Football Club. Andy Pilley, who owns Fleetwood, unashamedly tells you that he's put 9 million of his own money into that, but it's making £500,000 a year now for the football club. And it's enriching the Wyre community, a broader reach than Fleetwood, and that's what we want to have in the town. We want the football club to be the community facility for everybody in Rochdale, irrespective of creed, colour, denomination, whatever. We want this to be a community club for boys, girls, men, women to do, just to engage and to exercise or to do whatever people want to do to make society better, and that's the real ambition of the football club. Thirdly, we need to stay, and we want to stay playing at this level of football. And it's expensive, and we can't do it on, our playing budget, no secret, is around about the 2 million mark.
Gate receipts are 1.1.
Gate receipts are 1.1 million, so you don't have to be a genius to understand where do we get our money from. And we are the last model football club in terms of we have no really high net worth individuals on the board of directors. All the directors of this club have put money in, but it's no longer sustainable. So we need outside investment to take the club forward, because genuinely, I think we did the town proud last night, but we want to do that on a regular basis, and we want to play in the championship. The club, I was very interested in hearing about Hornets' 150th anniversary in 2021. We will celebrate in 2021 100 years membership unbroken membership of the Football League. So we'd like to do that playing in the Championship.
I want to ask about non-football as well. You were heavily involved in the creation of Rochdale Ambassadors. Obviously, it must give you a lot of satisfaction going to Old Trafford yesterday and putting on a really good performance. In a different way, it must give you a lot of satisfaction looking in the audience here, coming to Rochdale Football Club, different businesses, different people, because you were heavily involved in the creation of Rochdale Ambassadors. And how important do you think that is to the club and to Rochdale?
Oh, it's massively important to the club, because the club puts the town on the map, but the town puts the club on the map, and it works both ways. And we need a thriving business community in Rochdale as much as we need a thriving football club. And I think both things work hand in hand. To me, it's brilliant that you've come here this morning. I feel slightly embarrassed because our facilities are not what they should be. We're very fortunate we have a great contract with the NHS, and they were here for a meeting yesterday. But we need to invest, and that's why we need outside investment, because this room should not look like it does look. It should look fantastically spick and span and clean, with a new floor and new carpets and painted walls. But we need money to do that, and we cannot sustain ourselves any longer in the way that we've traditionally sustained ourselves.
I mean, the problem is there's too many football clubs and too many businesses that I see in my walk of life. We've got the veneer of expensiveness, and they've gone into administration and receivership. Now Rochdale's just got those old-fashioned values that mean it won't do that. You've spoken before, you won't climb into bed with the devil in terms of foreign ownership, and jeopardise the future of this football club as well. I meet lots of local authorities. Rochdale, Borough Council is very proactive in the way they're doing things. Just see the regeneration and the work that's taking place in the town centre. How important is that relationship in terms of with the council and the development agency?
Oh, hugely important. I joined the board of directors 4 years ago here, and it was fair to say that we probably didn't really engage either the council executive or the elected council in the ideas and ambitions we had as a football club. And I think it's fair to say that we're now trying very hard to do that, because, again, I keep coming back to it. We want to be a community club. Rochdale loves the town, and hope the town loves Rochdale. You asked me a question earlier we didn't properly answer, that about last night. It was brilliant seeing 6,000 people last night. 6,000 people from Rochdale, 6,000. And on Saturday, we'll probably have 2,300. So, the great ambition would be that even if only 10 or 20% of the people who went last night, who haven't been for a long time, thought, hey, I like this, it's good, just come back, because it makes such a, every £20 through the turnstile makes such a big difference here.
I've got a couple more questions to ask, mindful of time. Has anybody got any questions they want to ask from the audience? Not very often you get to meet a real celebrity in David Bottomley. And it's nice for David to find the time to talk. I mean, there's people come all the way from Canada to hear you. Yeah, from Canada. Absolutely hot sister, yeah. But she still comes. Hotwood's come all the way from California today just to listen to you, because he saw that article about you in the magazine as well. I will always get back at you. You do realise that. When we spoke before, you said that when you were a kid growing up in Rochdale, you couldn't wait to get away.
Correct.
Absolutely, yeah. And you thought the grass was greener on the other side. And then the opportunity came back. The call came to get involved with Rochdale Football Club as well. I asked the same question of Siobhan in terms of how did she feel about Rochdale right now? How do you feel about Rochdale right now, the place, the football club, the town centre and everything that goes with it?
I think it's fantastic. I think the regeneration's brilliant. I did grow up with a burning desire to get away, and because I thought, that was the 1970s. It wasn't a great era anywhere, but I think Rochdale was a fairly depressed town in those days. I see Rochdale now as, I've always spread the message wherever I've been throughout the world about, the town hall, but it's got so much more than the town hall now, hasn't it? It's got the highest percentage of manufacturing industry in the northwest of England, and it's got so many good things going for it. I think it's a brilliant town, and I love it. I mean, but the only thing is that the people don't change sometimes. When I moved to Henley-on-Thames, it's 7 miles from Reading, and when I moved there, they were building a huge new shopping complex called the Oracle, and the Oracle is built straddling a river and a canal. And everybody in the local area you had the attitude of, wow, this is fantastic, they're opening up, it's going to be wine bars and restaurants and cinemas and all these things. And when I came back to Rochdale, it coincided with the river being uncovered. And people at the football club, and I used to say, oh, it's going to be great, they're opening up the river. Yeah, before the shopping trolleys. And that is the one thing, isn't it? You know, in the south, the thing I find that the people in the north are amazing, and I think the people of this town are amazing. But the thing that used to irritate me all my life living away from Rochdale is that I think we put ourselves down too much in this town, whereas people in the south have a much more, you know, can-do attitude. And I think now with what's happening, certainly with the council and the executive, there's a real feel-good factor that says, you know, this town is a great town and we can make things happen. And to me, that's why I love Rochdale.
David, thanks very much for that. I'm just going to end, obviously, by thanking all our speakers, thanking David and our first two speakers as well, and thanks for the audience for coming here today, and for Rochdale Football Club for hosting us. You know, I was proud to be associated with Rochdale. You know, 10 years so it is. You know, I've working with Rochdale Development Agency and working with Rochdale Ambassadors as well. I've met about 30, 40 businesses so far. It's a fraction of the businesses that I need to meet. We're organising a monthly round table of Rochdale businesses. And we go to different locations. We've done 2 so far. We've got another one lined up. If you've got a business, if you're in Rochdale Borough and you want me to come and see you and you've got a story to tell, come and see me. Afterwards, I'll be hanging about. You know, because I think you're exactly right. You know, Rochdale was on the stage, the sort of national stage yesterday. You know, and then Wycombe Wanderers, which is where we started. You know, there won't be a lot of people there on Saturday. And we were talking about the Hornets as well. And yet, you know, if we go around and wear this with pride, which we generally do, and people are really surprised when you start talking about Rochdale, and we start talking about the projects that are taking place, because I know what you mean. As a southerner, you know, sometimes we do, you know, probably puff our, you know, chest out a little bit more, but I think it's an insecurity, where I think up the north, you know, people are much more sure about themselves as well, and I just think in terms of, I think Rochdale's on the beginning of something really great. So thank you very much to you, David. Thank you very much for everyone for coming here today, and safe journey. And the sun's shining as well. Exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you. Cheers.